Talking About Marketing is a podcast for business owners and leaders, produced by Steve Davis and David Olney of Talked About Marketing. More than 8,000 conversations have taught them something. You can't read the label from inside the bottle. Everyone needs external perspective. Through their 4 Ps: person, principles, problems, and perspicacity. Yes, you heard that correctly. They explore marketing with curiosity, generosity, and the occasional gentle eye roll. They hope this becomes a trusted companion on your journey in business.
David, could you stay here if I give you a $10 coffee voucher?
Yeah, but I'll stay here without it too.
Oh, what? I have to rewrite my spam now.
Our 4 Ps. Number 1, person. These are insights for the whole person, not just the business operator. Oscar Wilde put it this way: the aim of life is self-development, to realize one's nature perfectly. That's what each of us is here for.
David James Olney.
That'd be me.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. What have you got to say for yourself?
And?
I've always wanted to do that to someone.
The Miranda Act?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though I misspoke then and didn't quite get 100%.
No, you would have failed Miranda, which meant I'm already out of here.
Yes, evidence.
Particularly with my AI sunglasses, I've got the recording to know you didn't do Miranda right. Man, I'm walking.
Well, I'm also an ICE agent, so I'm above the law. Bang.
Well, this is going to end really poorly because I'm a member of the Sinaloa cartel and my 27 friends are going to bring a lot of drugs and guns.
This is not how I anticipated this podcast.
The start of this episode.
So this is the person segment. We think about things that we can apply personally as well as business. And you're halfway through reading a book by an FBI guy by the name of Dr. Jack Schafer. He's a former FBI special agent and behavior analyst specialist. The book is called The Like Switch. What do you like about it?
What I really like about it, having read Chase Hughes' book, The Behavior Ops Manual, over nearly 2 weeks, because as an audiobook it was 38 hours, is that Jack Schafer is saying in under 10 more than Chase Hughes said in 38. And what I really found interesting about Chase Hughes was he argued that there's all these behavioral things you can do to send out signals that you can be trusted, that you're a safe option before you say a word, and that if you don't send out those signals, your words probably won't land. And because Chase Hughes did it in such a long-winded blah blah way, I was kind of like, oh, maybe this is not entirely credible, but it's interesting. And then to move on next to Jack Schafer's book, and he starts with, well, if you want to impact people, if you want to have an influence over them, you better make sure you're sending out friendly signals. And he starts listing off all the things you can do. And as a blind person, this was really interesting.
I think we have to pay attention to the nonverbal signals initially that tell other people we're not a threat, that we're friendly, that we're open to them. And there's basically 3 friend signals. The first one is the eyebrow flash, which is an up and down movement of the eyebrows. It's very quick. It's about 1/64th of a second, really quick. And with that, it's a long distance signal that tells the other person that we're not a threat. So typically what happens is 2 people will approach one another and they will exchange eyebrow flashes. That simply says, I'm not a threat, you're not a threat. The second thing we do is we have a tendency to tilt our head to one side or the other as a friend signal. And the reason we do that is because when we tilt our head one side or the other, we're exposing our carotid artery. And that's pretty vulnerable, because if we cut our carotid artery, we're going to be dead in a few minutes. So what we're telling that other person is, I trust you enough to expose some part of my body that's very vulnerable. And to give a good example of this, if you have any pets, particularly dogs, when you come home and you meet your dog will sit there and typically greet you by tilting its head one way or the other. All the dog is saying is, I'm not a threat. And when a lot of times the dog will roll over on its back and want a tummy rub, everyone says, oh, how friendly. No, what the dog is really saying is, I'm exposing the most vulnerable part of my body because I trust you and I know you won't hurt me. So it's a sign of trust. So we typically tilt our head one way or the other. And the last thing we do is we typically smile. And what happens when we smile is we release endorphins. And endorphins make us feel good about ourselves. And there's a golden rule of friendship that says, if I make you feel good about you, you're going to like me. So if I smile at you, you smile back, we're both releasing endorphins, we make each other feel good about ourselves, and we have the tendency to like one another. And I always tell people these are kind of not unconscious, but semi-conscious signals that we exchange multiple times during the day.
One of the first things he points out is if you watch people really closely, when they start talking to someone new and they want to make a good impression, they will often tilt their head a little bit. And most people assume it's because in a loud room, we all want to hear a bit better. Actually turns out it's a mammal trait, and that we tilt our head to basically show, I trust you enough to be vulnerable and make my carotid artery vulnerable. That's a hard thing to say.
It is, isn't it? It's almost like I was strangling you at the time you were trying to say.
Yeah, I wasn't going, so I think I'm okay. But it's very difficult to say your carotid artery vulnerable. But such an interesting thing. And this week, I tried it a few times. And guess what? People relaxed faster.
Really?
Like I could hear the tone of their voice go from, oh, this is just a work interaction with someone who's a customer who might be annoyed at me or why should I care, to suddenly this person's warming up to talking to me and we're getting on with whatever I needed help with, but also just chatting. And I'm like, hang on, something so simple is clicking in their brain as a safety signal. It's amazing.
Now I think about it, I do tend to do that. It is a natural. I've never thought about it before.
People don't, and that's the point.
You cock your head just a little bit to
Just
the
a
side.
little bit, yep. And the other thing that you'll do is you'll raise your chin slightly after you've cocked your head later in the conversation, which shows I trust you enough. I'm making my whole throat more exposed.
Sometimes it is just thinking.
It is, but the first time is normally that you're indicating to the person, this is going well, and I want you to keep feeling safe. I am not a threat, and I don't want to be a threat.
I think that's a fantastic thing for us all to put into practice. You come to meet someone, and in the process of greeting, when you don't do it straight away, but the moment you sit down to talk or you're standing and you're about to start talking, just tilt your head a little bit to the side.
Yep.
And that is a signal. Is that your phone, David?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
It's coming from my watch.
Luckily, I like you. So I see I'm no longer cocking my head. That's okay. Will it stop in a moment?
It stopped.
Okay. So you're saying you don't, the moment you see someone cock your head, but it's the moment when you're about to shift into talking?
Yep, when you're starting to interact with them in a way where you want them to listen to what you're going to say next.
Because I think of the, 50,000 odd interviews I did on radio, I reckon I always cocked my, like, as you've asked your first question,
Yep.
You do.
Yep.
I'm doing it now.
We do it without even realizing we do it. Now, again, because I can't look at myself in the mirror, I probably haven't realized I've done it, but we never sit absolutely still, except now when we're trying to have good microphone discipline. But even there, we move a little bit because we know the mics will let us move around a bit. So it's just such a great idea that if you want your carefully constructed message to land, make sure you're also sending out the physical signals that you'd rather be friends, that you're not sending out potential I'm a foe or a threat signals.
So, is there another thing that jumped out at you is my next question.
Yeah, basically he said that there is an in-between face that's emerged in the modern world, which he calls the urban scowl face, which is that I'm afraid, I'm tired, I'm wired, I don't really want to listen to you. I just want to get the outcome I want. And he said, far too many of us are just going through the day with what he calls the urban scale face and encountering other people with the urban scale face. And it's no wonder we get to the end of the day and feel we haven't connected with anybody.
Because it's repelling people.
And we're repelling each other without meaning to, non-stop.
How do you remedy that? Just be aware of it.
Be
and smile.
aware you're doing it. Take the 2 seconds to have a deep breath. Smile. Remember why you're there. Remember that you want to make a good impression for the right reason.
I was just in Sydney, and I've been in Melbourne a number of times. People don't smile.
No, it's the urban scale. It's exactly what he's describing.
But in Adelaide, many of us do. Not everyone.
But more, from what people tell me.
Say again?
More people smile here from what people tell me.
Absolutely. You nod your head, you smile. I always do that. I'll be in Perth shortly, and I'll be doing the same. I don't know what they're going to be like over there.
Yeah, you'll find out what's the norm there.
Yes, I'll report back. So, look, the like switch. Here's the question, though. Is it accessible, and would you recommend people having a listen or a read?
I'm only halfway through so far, and I'm utterly fascinated because this is someone who learned all this stuff using it in the FBI and then went and did his PhD in psychology to actually understand why it all worked. So he's that interesting guy. He knows it all worked. He was training people to use it even before he totally understood why it worked. So I like the fact that he had practical evidence first and then unpacked it. And he's a bit of a serious ex-FBI agent, but that's okay. It's a short-ish book, and it's full of interesting things. And he makes the point very clearly, you got to practice all this stuff if you want to use it to interact with people in the way you want in the world. So, learn the lessons well. He's a bit of a teacher, but that's okay.
Is there anything in it, apart from those two, that you've used on me?
No, because I'm not up to the language bit yet, so I haven't.
So watch out.
I haven't got, because I figure the language bit's going to be really interesting. But like you said, if you don't get the body language right, the language isn't going to work on its own because you haven't taken the opportunity to send out those initial quiet signals.
So you will be using some of the language things on me once you've embraced it.
Oh, inevitably, because practice is awesome.
In that case, David James Olney, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you.
Now I'm in trouble because you got Miranda right.
Our 4 Ps. Number 2, principles. These are ideas worth building on. As Oscar Wilde reminded us, you can never be overdressed or overeducated.
David, what does this spell? R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
It spells the Blues Brothers movie and the scene in the diner.
Yes, with Aretha Franklin.
Yep.
Respect. Now, we're talking about respect. This, in the principle segment, is actually a little bit linked to the like switch we just talked about in some ways. But this is a book we have both... Well, actually, no. You finished...
I finished, but really under sufferance because it became repetitive.
I was into about chapter 2 and I could not take another word. Oh, no, that's not this book.
No, that's the brains. That's the emergence book.
The emergence book. But I didn't like this one either. Because it seemed very shallow, its approach to the topic of respect. That's a little bit unfair because it did dip its beak down a little bit deeper.
I think it was too many instances of repetition with very slight variation. And that's persuasive to a degree, but eventually you go, yeah, you just had another cool friend you wanted to interview for the book.
And that person is Robert Dylan Schneider, the author, a storied member of the PR profession. And he put this book together, and you do get the sense when he goes through the list of the, 15 or 16, or could even be more, people from different walks of life whom he's putting up in front of us as exemplars of putting respect into practice. I just started to get a sense that, hang on, is this just a lovely way to really make your connection with these people stronger, so they, not necessarily on purpose, so they bond with you more, but it's a little gift, a token of you're with the right person because I can make you look good.
I think it's that to a degree because he's a PR guy and he probably can't help it.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is he probably thought everyone would say something different about how we get more civility in the world by having more respect in the world. I think he thought he would get more answers. Whereas it seems what he found as he talked to more and more people, the same thread keeps coming up. In a hierarchical world, respect could be demanded. And as that's been dismantled, you then can't demand respect the way it was historically demanded. And really the way to rebuild respect is through kindness. And everyone's reached that conclusion in slightly different ways and applies it slightly differently depending on, whether they ran one of the best restaurants in the world, or whether they're a school teacher, or whether they're a Saturday morning, morning TV program host. Everyone has chosen to be kind but firm in their different environments. And that's a great lesson, but the book could have been 3 hours, not 7 or 8.
And I think, to be fair to Robert, in the first chapter where he lays those sorts of principles out, could be the first or second, I'm with him because, yes, I think what the world needs to grab hold on to, in fact, this came up in a political discussion. Someone said, what's your position? What's your philosophy? And I said, well, we need a party that believes in thoughtful decency. Thoughtful because we're not going to be mugs, we're not going to play stupid games, we're going to apply some intellect to things, but decency, which means we give people respect as humans and we try to do what we believe is the right thing for all beyond our immediate needs. Thoughtful decency. And so I was with him for that. But then what happened, and this is what I would love your opinion. In fact, let's have a little snippet of Robert capturing some of those points.
Respect may be one of the least discussed human qualities. Most of us go through life without giving it much thought. It seldom comes up in conversations. The media rarely use the word. It's not that we don't care about respect. Rather, we tend to just take it for granted. It is my contention that respect deserves, well, more respect. That is, more attention, consideration, appreciation, praise. It is respect for one another that builds healthy relationships. It is mutual respect that creates friendships and enables societies and their organizations to function effectively. It is respect that establishes trust between individuals, between groups, among nations. It is the feeling of being respected that helps build self-confidence, and our own self-respect is essential for us to get along in life. But if we don't think much about respect, we do give a lot of attention to its opposite, disrespect. We've even created a shorthand version of the word dis. Just saying, you dissed me, can be enough to start insults flying and sometimes fists, too. Countless feuds have started because someone felt disrespected. In extreme cases, even wars. To put it simply, being respectful for one another makes this a better world. Failing to show respect can make it a worse place. That's true not only in our daily lives, but also throughout history. In fact, a lot of world history has been made by people who used respect as a force for good.
This has intrigued me. When you've got a book like this and you're holding certain people up as exemplars of what it is to be great examples of using respect in daily life, what happens when you know a different side of the story of these people that makes them not necessarily people whom you would hold or place on that pedestal? I actually put a post on LinkedIn and I tagged Robert in it, as well as the next few people. I said, I'm currently listening to your book. I've appreciated your careful application of a respectfulness standard with the experts you quote, but having read Sarah Wynne Williams' account of working with Sheryl Sandberg, Sheryl was one of the people he put forward as a great exemplar of this, in Careless People, Sarah's book. I feel the chapter warrants a rewrite because Sandberg's words now ring hollow for me. And furthermore, I caught myself wondering about the piety of some of the other exemplars of respect. Sol Trujillo did some good work at Telstra, but there were many questions raised about some contracts that were awarded to an American telco company run by his protege, according to the Australian Financial Review. There is such a thing as objective truth, so I guess even really crooked leaders, I won't name any, can accidentally say something true every now and then, like a stopped clock being right twice a day. But I had higher expectations for the people quoted in this book. So, Robert, I'm earnestly curious about whether or not you're tempted to revisit chapters should you discover the people quoted have since deviated from the level of esteem with which you had previously held them, or whether we're taking a postmodernist approach and separating words and thoughts from whether or not the speaker walked their talk. I've not had a response.
I don't think you ever will.
I tried to do that with kindness, and to me it undermined the book.
And that's the problem with the book is you take away the one idea and you question the people he chose, seeing they all seem like clients or friends.
They do.
And it's one of those books that, unfortunately, the idea could have been a single essay with almost no examples of how this person used it slightly differently. Just a 40-minute essay on kindness as the path to rebuilding respect. And if you'd done that without name dropping, it might have been a really powerful argument. But by going into the name dropping, particularly when some of the names are so questionable, it corrodes the value of the argument.
To me, the saying "quit while you're ahead" comes up because you're dead right. He had a great concept, and it's good for us all to reflect on and use. But the examples is, now we're slipping back down the hill. Now we're slipping back there. It's ruining the suspension of disbelief, if I can use my theatre reviewing terms. It broke the fourth wall. Hang on a minute. This is now sounding like a little reward for a few mates.
Yeah, the PR has been a little bit too polished.
Yeah. So do we recommend reading it or just really reflecting on your summary?
No, just reflect on the link between kindness and respect, and that you probably can't demand respect. But through kindness, you're more likely to get respect. And if through kindness you don't get respect, then you know the person you're dealing with doesn't respond well to a positive approach, and you've been warned.
And I'll finish by saying my question to Robert on LinkedIn was from a place of curiosity, and I do still hold it out with great respect. If Robert gets to hear this, I would love to know how this line of thought impacts your thinking about the book and whether you would revise a chapter or we go forth as it was and whatever comes.
Our 4 Ps. Number 3, problems. These are the marketing challenges keeping you up at night. As Oscar said, we ask questions for the best reason possible. Simple curiosity, no hidden agenda, just genuine interest in what's actually happening.
I caught you, David.
Doing what?
I caught you engaging with AI-related threads on LinkedIn. That's weird me saying that. How weird do you think it was when I received unsolicited email pitch saying, Steve, caught you engaging with AI-related threads on LinkedIn. What's your reaction to that?
It's another one of those emails. That's the point where I'd close it and set the junk filter to immediately zap anything from the same sender.
It's just, I've noticed that these unsolicited email with spam has been getting ruder and more informal the whole time. We know that people buy from people they know, like, and trust. you got no chance of being liked, or known rather, if I'm not going to like you.
Nope.
And they're just so, hey, what's up? Here's another one. There's another one that I saw recently. It wasn't even what's up. It was something of that ilk. Hello? What is going on here? It was the sort of informal communication or greeting you'd give to someone you know deeply, not someone you're hoping to engage in a business deal with.
Well, also starting with a negative emotion. You know, you've been caught out. That's a terrible way to start interacting with someone, because the minute they go negative, they're going to even be more paranoid or suspicious about whatever you say after you've triggered a negative emotion.
So they followed that up with, since you're already exploring AI, hello. Well, we've been using it just within talked about marketing, you and I, for about 3 years now. Since you're already exploring AI, thought you might want to check out this. We just now rolled out an AI revenue agent that responds like a real person, sets up meetings, and qualifies leads 24/7. It essentially takes over for the basic chatbots most sites and runs 24/7 for half price of what a VA costs. Want me to show you how it runs for small businesses? No thanks, Amber Gomez from AI Gorilla. That is just the worst pitch I have ever seen in my life.
No, there'll be. I'm sure there's worse ones.
I'm sure there are, but that's one. The other one I've seen doing the rounds. Hey, Steve, I was looking at your LinkedIn, my LinkedIn, and loved how it talked about marketing Mind's client stories into remark-worthy content while keeping strategy front and centre for South Australia and the Northern Territory. Wow, that's a
that
really
is the
bad
most
AI
summarised start to an email I've heard this month.
Your Oscar Wilde vibe, combined with workshops, keynotes, podcasts, plus being a head chef raising 2 daughters, makes attracting customers feel both inevitable and refreshingly human. They have gone way too far into my personal life and doing a drive-by.
Welcome to the creepy new world of AI-generated email.
If I could show you how I could get you 10 to 20 clients every month on autopilot while you sit back, relax, and simply collect cash by incorporating a low-ticket funnel that automatically ascends prospects into high-ticket clients in just 14 days, would that be worth a chat over coffee? That is so cynical about humans and just trying to go for the greed vein. But how stupid. What? Ugh. And then here's the line. I will happily send you a $10 Starbucks gift card so we can both have a coffee together on the call. Ha ha ha. Talk soon, Crilly. It actually is insulting at that level. They want to engage my time. They're going to take at least half an hour, even though they say 10 or 20 minutes, and they want to pay $10 in a gift card, which has to be spent at Starbucks, which doesn't... Do they even exist in Adelaide?
I'm
not sure.
So.
I think they did at one point. So there. Secondly, we know who was the author who drew this out. He is a behavioural economist, and he pointed out that there's a certain connection we have with people on values, and the moment you put a monetary figure on it, it snaps and we think things differently. So they're looking for goodwill, having a chat. The moment they then quantify it by saying, here's a $10 Starbucks voucher, which probably gets you half one of those fancy
Either
coffees.
offer the voucher or don't try and build up the simpatico. But yeah, combining the two.
I don't even
work.
like the voucher idea.
I don't like either, but do one or
sleazy.
the other.
Yeah. So what is happening to spam, David? This is a problem that's infecting the world. I guess the key thing is to remind, as much as I've wanted to reply to these people, I haven't, because all you do is A, let them know that there's a live person here, and then B, they're not going to read it anyway. The worst you're going to do is have more of it come.
I think the irony at the moment is it's got so cheap to send out multitudes of email via AI processing that, well, soon we'll be at the point of having AI reading all our email and getting rid of the trash and summarising things to go, well, here are the things you might find entertaining, but I've put them in the spam folder for the moment. Like, the irony is there's just going to be this world of flying ones and zeros in the digital space of their AIs making crap that our AIs decide is crap.
And then trying to get better to trick the AI guard dogs.
Yeah.
And they'll get through a few times, and then that AI will have to learn that that's not. And so world resources will be depleted.
So it's an arms race of idiocy.
Now there is a title for this episode. Apart from just wanting to share with other people who might care, it's just don't bother. Do not bother responding. Would you concur with that? It's just a fool's errand.
Absolutely. It's fun for us to talk about it in the podcast because it's okay to be angry about it, but just laugh at us getting angry at it and then move on.
Do you want that coffee now?
I think I'd rather have a mineral water. That way I can drown the AI.
Our 4 Ps. Number 4, perspicacity. Let's examine a campaign from the past and ask, would it work today? As Oscar Wilde believed, our one duty to history is to rewrite it. So let's see what we can learn.
David, if you had sort of red, slightly wavy hair, just down to your neck, moustache, would you ride horses dressed in leather around the snowy river?
I suppose if someone paid me enough money.
And would you walk into the bar? What would you order?
This is one of those trick questions because do I have to go near the horse again? If I want to have to go near the horse again, then I want to be alcohol free because horsies are crazy.
Well, true. And what I'm evoking here is one of the early ads for Clayton's back in the day. Because in Perspicacity, we often look at campaigns from the past and see how they stand up in the light of day. Let's have a listen to Jack Thompson. It starts with him on a film set and then moves into the bar after a day's shooting on those horses.
Cut! Nice one, Jack. Good bit of riding. What'll you have?
I have a Clayton's and dry, thanks. Plenty of ice.
The drink you have.
When I'm not having a drink.
Reckon you can handle the river crossing?
I'll be ready.
Clayton's and dry, Jack.
Oh, better have a double scotch, too. For the horse. Clayton's. The drink you have when you're not having a drink.
It's a little cheesy, but there is something I like about that line. It's the drink you have when you're not having a drink. There's something to like about that. There's also some negativity with it. But the drink I have when I'm not having a drink, to me, has some validity because it shows agency. It shows you've got control of your life. You're not a victim. You're not addicted. You've decided I'm opting out of alcohol for this next drink. It's the drink I have when I'm not having one. But, of course, as you pointed out before, Clayton's then became the catchword in the 80s, I guess, when this came about for the fake, the empty, the unreal.
But then it was for it's similar but not the same. You know, the Claytons was like the light version. And as much as people said it, the fact that it stuck seems powerful to me, that it could have just been totally ignored. And yet the whole thing of the gag in the ad of, and I'll take a double scotch for the horse. I think for an era where Australia, again, wasn't old enough then to be drinking yet, but wasn't old enough to be drinking legally. That's a better way to put it. The amount of alcohol being consumed in Australia was ridiculous.
Yes.
And the fact the ad worked as well as it did. And in some ways, it worked really well in capturing. So the occasion is you go into the bar with your friends, but you've still got something to do there that's a legitimate thing you do in the bar. Because Clayton's is the drink you have when you don't have a drink. There's a nice twist in an era where being the non-drinker would have been quite strange, of making sure that you've got a drink in your hand that looked like the barman did 3 steps and it came out with ice and other stuff, you're not going to really look any different to anyone around you, and you're still part of the occasion. I think it was really good advertising for its era, and I think it probably does still stand up as not being a bad way to pitch it to a generation who are used to drinking a lot of alcohol. Now, younger Australians who simply drink less, they just drink non-alcoholic things without blinking, because that's more normal in their age group. But for our age group, where, alcohol consumption was so normal, I think the Clayton's thing probably had a significant place, and the ad still probably works.
Well, I'm just looking into a little bit of research here. It was the 70s and 80s when this happened in Australia and New Zealand. It was considered a successful, although niche, product. And that line, of course, has stuck with us. It also came at a time when breath testing and road safety campaigns were really shifting attitudes to alcohol. Not much, but a little bit.
Beginning.
Yes. And it was a brand that was kicked around by different companies, Beecham, Orlando Wines, Cadbury, Schweppes, they all had a bit. I tried some about 3 years ago.
Oh, wow, it's still available.
Well, here's the rub. I thought it was Clayton's. I tasted it, and it tasted like lime, that adult lime cordial that's made here in South Australia. Brand I'm having a mental blank for.
Bigford's.
It was almost like a darker, heavier version of that. And I thought, oh, gee, I would never have gone for this if I was of a drinking age and back then. But apparently today the Clayton's Cola Tonic brand still exists in Barbados and is sold internationally. And I'm wondering whether that's what I got at Dan Murphy's when I had this sudden need, because I can't imagine what I tasted as being something you'd have over rocks with a little bit of Schweppes.
Yeah, you kind of imagine it's some sort of bitters product. And having tried a couple of the sort of non-alcoholic whiskey substitutes, now they are really quite strange. Like some things don't have a substitute.
Yeah,
so
correct.
Have a unique flavour.
And so I thought we'd look at this. So our jury is, provided the product was good, and I don't think either of us ever tried the real deal, so it's hard to say there would be a place for it, although I've also tried some of the fake, there you go, Clayton's whiskies, and they are completely nothing near it. There's something with the heat that comes. There's something the barley bring. There's all that sort of stuff. Let's fast forward, because we often say, would this work today? And we're saying, well, maybe it would if the product was good, because it's a good catch line. That brings us to something I discovered through social media ads recently called Hopper, Hopr, which is sparkling hops water. It's interesting. It came out from the owner's experience of COVID. Let's have a listen to this. I think it's about 1.5 minute video they've got.
Back in 2020,
how Australia's vaccine rollout stumbled.
COVID led me down a deep black hole with alcohol. In battle, I was lost, I was struggling with my mental health. Simply put, I was fucked up. I've had family and friends pass away from alcohol-related issues, and I didn't want to go down that path. So I had an idea. To create a business that could truly change lives, including mine. That's how Hopper was born. What I didn't expect, the late nights, the stress.
I'm sorry, but things happen. We can send you another truck tomorrow.
You said that you were going to send. The fact that it's not happening just sucks. The countless setbacks. This fucking piece of shit. I've cried, screamed, and burned myself out. But every moment has been worth it. Because I'm not trying to build just a brand. I'm building a movement. Hopper's about the stories, the people. We're sharing the raw, unglamorous truth of this journey to help 1 million Aussies build a healthier, happier future. Welcome to the journey, where you'll see every step, every story, every person that will be helping along the way. This is Hopper, and this is what it takes to build Australia's biggest non-alcoholic brand.
So his journey was to find something to replace some of the alcohol that he was sort of guzzling, I think, the way that he would describe that. Anyway, I've always had a light mindset when it comes to the ads on social media, because it's very rare that I've ever responded to any of them. But this one I did, because just recently, as I'm going to the gym 3 days a week, being mindful of what I eat, and just wanting to give the body the best chance to thrive, up popped this ad for Hopper, non-alcoholic. And I looked at the reviews and all the comments people were making, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try some. And I'm glad I did, because it is an amazing product, David.
Yeah, it's really yummy. You bought me and Karen over 2 cans, and we then ordered a carton as well.
Because it's got a bitter taste to it, a bit like beer, but not really. Depends which flavour you've got. And it's satisfying. They've got a little bit of green tea extract in it and adaptogens. And basically it gives you I don't physically feel like I've got a calmer state. I think it just happens by osmosis. But the thing that I reach for, that lovely glass of red or a shot of whiskey at the end of the day, I now reach for this. And it's just switched over. And the reason I wanted to mention this in the Perspicacity is there's just something about the way they're talking about it that connected with me. And I think there's a mindset when you're doing ads in social media, because Google ads are different. Google ads pop up when someone's searching for something. There's intent. Your social media ads tend to pop up when someone's just browsing anything. I mean, obviously these people have retargeting. You go to their website and then their ads will follow you everywhere. But there needs to be a degree of patience of making sure you've targeted the right people who are likely to be close to being interested so that you're there. You agree?
Yeah, it's like when you go fishing for trout and you put the lure on and you have to make the lure bounce on the water to look like a bug bouncing on the water. You've got to have the right thing in the water and wait for a fish to come along that's interested. So it's a patient form of advertising. And I think the other thing that's really interesting is we had kind of a cool line with Clayton's, the drink you have when you're not having a drink. Now we just talk about, I want my life to be different than it is. You can use a personal story about wanting to change your own life and wanting to help other people change their life, their relationship with alcohol. Like that ability to be more honest about why we do things and that we want to help other people do it too. And that's an okay way to run an ad. It's perhaps even going in the long run to be far more persuasive.
And I feel like the best situation would be the best of both worlds, where you do have some sort of easy to remember taglines or hooks.
Yeah.
But it's based on, I like the fact he wants this to be a movement. And
yeah.
I think that's...
I'd love it if we could give him a better hook to go with the great story, because then he'd have both sides covered.
Yeah.
And that would be really powerful to have both.
All right. So there you go. Perspicacity, looking at the Clayton's approach. And I imagine that was bit schmick and, classic hardcore advertising, but it was trying to break through really entrenched views and not be and buy respect. Try and earn respect. There's that word again. So it's not laughed off the bar. Whereas now many of us are like, yeah, do whatever you like, mate. If you want to have some, have some. If you don't. It doesn't matter. I feel like in relationships to alcohol, there's a broader church in some parts of society where it's more kosher.
I almost wonder too if the way Jack Thompson performed the ad so calmly and credibly, like Jack Thompson could have played that ad, he could have hammed it up or been weird, but he delivers the whole ad really well. And it almost makes it seem like Jack Thompson would do this.
Yeah.
And the power of the fact they picked an actor who didn't just make the ad, but made the ad seem credible. That's actually really good acting.
Yeah.
That's
Jack
a really
Thompson,
good performance.
He's the actor you have when you don't really want an actor.
Thanks for listening to Talking About Marketing. If you found this helpful, please share it with someone who might benefit. And if you're so inclined, leave a rating in your podcast app. Both help more than you think. Steve and David welcome your thoughts, which you can send to podcast@talkedaboutmarketing.com. That's podcast@talkedaboutmarketing.com. Want to continue the conversation beyond the podcast? You can book 20 minutes with Steve at talkedaboutmarketing.com. No cost, no obligation. And we'll leave the last word to Oscar Wilde. There's only one thing worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about.